Wow! Hello, folks. It's me, your faithful newsboy. Welcome to some more news. Today, I've actually got to get serious. Michael Bloomberg, former mayor of New York City and billionaire, 65 billions heir. Well, he's running for the Democratic nomination so that he can be the one to defeat Donald Trump. And multiple reports are coming out about how he's using his inconceivable wealth to buy support and influence the election. According to OpenSecrets.org, Bloomberg has spent well over $400 million on his campaign so far, with literally 99.9% being paid out of his own pocket and 0% from individual contributions. The Intercept and Voices of San Diego report that Bloomberg is throwing so much money into his own campaign and poaching campaign staff from small, local Democratic organizations. They are finding themselves starved of staffers. According to Intercept writer Ryan Grimm, he is hiring armies of staffers and canvassers in nearly every state in the country at eye-popping salaries, poaching talent from other campaigns and progressive organizations that are now struggling to fill jobs. Bloomberg has also paid social media influencers to pump out hot Bloomberg memes, which the Bloomberg campaign literally calls Meme 2020. Newsweek reports that he has paid hundreds of people $2,500 a month to praise him on their social media accounts. You hear that, Yang Gang? It's like universal basic income, except only for some people. And instead of being able to continue your life the way you want, you have to change your name to Text Mike to 77540. In fact, Bloomberg has poured so much money into his dank Bloomberg memes on Facebook and Instagram, Facebook has decided to change the rules for both platforms to allow for branded political content, which they'd previously banned. But to be fair and balanced or whatever, those were the rules before Bloomberg made the very compelling argument of, "I have money though." Even still, Bloomberg has a lot more money to burn of his $65 billion, a grotesque amount of money for one person, an amount which, according to mathematicians, is roughly 65,000 times a million, or about 325,000 Lamborghinis, or about 113,043 of Bernie's extremely fancy lake house. Gotcha, you filthy Democratic socialist, you and your having a house in the city you live in, and a house in the city you work in, and a cabin you were able to buy when your wife's parents sold their family home and you sold a book. How dare you want to raise taxes on the wealthy, which would include yourself, in order to give everybody health care? Anyway, my point is that spending a few $1,000,000 to silence potential critics is literally pocket change to Michael Bloomberg, and the practice predates his 2020 campaign. For example, by 2015, he had given grants to the Center for American Progress, CAP, worth over $1.5 million. In 2015, CAP was working on a report about anti-Muslim bias in America. Included in the report was former Mayor Bloomberg's New York City police program monitoring Muslim Americans. Interestingly, when the report came out, this chapter had been removed. Bloomberg then gave $400,000 more to CAP in 2017. The writers of the CAP report told the New York Times and Democracy Now! That they'd been asked to remove this chapter. Also, as mayor of New York City, Bloomberg had started charging people rent to live in homeless shelters. Because you know how families who have to live in a crowded, rundown shelter are rolling in money that they've selfishly been spending on things like food and diapers, but should really be used to pay for the honor of being in a homeless shelter? I mean, those cots don't pay for themselves. I could think of someone who could pay for them, but what's the point? Now, you would think this charging homeless people to stay at homeless shelters thing would outrage the many organizations working for the rights of the homeless in New York City. And it probably did. But Patrick Markey, formerly a senior policy analyst at the Coalition for the Homeless, told the Huffington Post that when he'd tried to get other organizations to work with him to oppose Bloomberg's policies, they couldn't, because in Markey's words, they told him, quote, "Look, we agree with you, we're on your side, but he's a critical donor. We can't afford to lose that kind of money." Former leader of the New York Civil Liberties Union, Norman Siegel, told BuzzFeed that he struggled to get support for lawsuits against Bloomberg's civil liberties violations. Siegel said, "Some groups would say, well, you know we're getting funding from Bloomberg, we like Bloomberg." Or toward the end, people were more unprepared to take him on because they had this delusional thought that somehow when he's in his foundation world, if they're nice to him, they'll get rewards and get grants from his foundation. This all stinks to high heaven, sure. There are turds in heaven's attic, but it's not like you can just buy democracy, right? Like, you can buy support, pay off your critics, purchase dank memes 2020, but you can't, like, just buy democracy, right? Like, if I were to turn my head, I wouldn't see, okay, so he's trying to lobby the DNC to swing the election in his favor when he doesn't get enough delegates from the people he's paying off to support him. You can't just do this, I'm sorry, but brave journalists with integrity, like me, are here to speak out against you, Bloomberg, and there is no price you could pay for me to stop speaking the No. I said I wanted the 45-meter yacht, not the 47-meter yacht. I'm not Jeff Bezos, you fucking imbecile! Hey everybody. It's news. It's news time. It's me, your trusty newsman. I've given the Bloomberg matter some thought, and I've decided, of my own free will, that he's good. He should be the president because he would be very good at that, and we should vote for him to become the president. And now look, I know what you might be thinking, okay? Cody, how can we trust this Bloomberg fellow? Yes, he's handsome and charming, but why should we just take your word for it that this Adonis-like man should get our precious, grubby little votes that he, in his great wisdom, allows us to have? Well, you may only know Bloomberg as the stunning former mayor, dripping with charisma, who famously closed that insidious loophole scamming your way towards free shelter by not having to pay rent at a homeless shelter. But did you know that he has also been the star of New York City's annual Inner Circle show 12 times in a row?
We're all a part of one giant club right here in NYC. There is a brotherhood of Mike, a benevolent brotherhood of Mike, a noble tie that drives 8.4 million lives into one brotherhood of Mike. Your lifelong membership is free.
Wow! A future president with smarts, humility, and a good set of pipes. But who is the future president that we know as Michael Bloomberg? Or as his friends like to call him, Mike Bloomberg. And I hope by the end of this, you consider yourself one of Mike's friends too. So to get to know Mike, let's look at some of the things he's valiantly fighting against. You see, Mike Bloomberg is the roll-up-his-sleeves type of American patriot, willing to take on scourges such as elderly cancer patients trying to scam insurance companies of money by greedily trying to cling to life.
We've got to sit here and say which things we're going to do and which things we're not. Nobody wants to do that. You know, if you show up with prostate cancer and you're 95 years old, we should say, go and enjoy, have an ice cream, lead a long life. There's no cure, and you can't do anything. If you're a young person, we should do something about it. Society's not willing to do that yet.
But Mike is also trying to stop scary black children from getting away with being able to walk around New York City without getting pushed against a wall and searched. Those fiendish children thinking they can go to school without being grabbed and frisked by law enforcement for existing. Bloomberg has also taken a bold stance against babies. And woman trying to find childcare, allegedly yelling at a woman who was having trouble finding a nanny, quote, "It's a fucking baby. All it does is eat and shit. It doesn't know the difference between you and anyone else. All you need is some black who doesn't even have to speak English to rescue it from a burning building." Also, he told one excited pregnant woman to kill it, referring to the baby, because these babies and their mothers trying to take advantage of an innocent, hard-working billionaire by using up the time they should be laboring to instead, like what, look for a nanny? Where the hell does this baby get off? Oh, look at me, I'm a baby. I need a nanny. Mom, please. Grow up. My point is, Mike Bloomberg is courageously fighting the many evils upon our country, like American citizens minding their own business, transgender people minding their own business, gay people who, very selfishly, want to have civil rights and want those civil rights to be enforced when they're written into law. Also, those grifters who want paid sick leave because they got sick and can't move without vomiting but don't want to be evicted. He fights against dangerous rabble-rousers like protesters and the communist plot of a living wage, greedy seniors getting Medicare and Social Security.
But if we don't do things like increasing the age at which you qualify for Social Security, you qualify for Medicare, or co-pays on Medicare and Medicaid so that people think twice and only do things that are necessary, we're just not going to be able to afford it.
Uppity women who want to be in photographs. Uppity women who want to be paid the same as men. Uppity women in general. He fights against the planet we live on to survive. He battles sneaky employees who want to skirt past the warm, protective bubble of non-disclosure agreements, which protects them from accidentally saying things to the media that might be embarrassing to Bloomberg, a guy I think is good, that you should vote for. Or my name isn't Text Mike to 35527. He takes down the greedy, homeless people who want to gluttonously sup upon donated food. He takes a stance against arrogant farmers who have forgotten their station and think that farming is more complex than putting seeds in the ground. They think they're human beings with brains who perform a complex, important service. But what candidate, besides Bloomberg, is brave enough to call farmers stupid and literally say that they lack the right amount of gray matter to understand things? Huh? What candidate, other than Bloomberg, is brave enough to take on parents who are too good for lead paint in their homes because their precious children are inhaling toxic lead paint dust, which is not good for their tiny bodies? According to Mother Jones, Bloomberg, great guy, stood up to the insidious people trying to enforce regulations about toxic paint dust. The article says he, quote, opposed the efforts to enforce cleanup. He argued that the city's existing laws were working just fine, and that any new rules risked hurting the real estate industry. Nobody ever thinks of the real estate industry, and I'm sorry, but these parents and children bullying the real estate industry over just a little bit of poisonous lead paint. I mean, who hasn't gotten a bit of lead paint around? I mean, I eat lead for Blurkfist and I'm fine. But Mike is not just a fighter. He's also a lover. Someone who will welcome allies into his warm embrace, like Donald Trump.
I know Donald Trump. He's a great guy. He doesn't do everything he says, but he sure tries, and I'm a big fan of Donald Trump.
He's shown his ability to conduct diplomacy by giving Donald Trump, specifically, great deals on golf courses. He'll also be able to reach across the aisle to Republicans, because he used to be one. Look at how much aisle reaching he's doing at the 2004 Republican National Convention.
Delegates and guests, welcome to my New York.
He has strong connections with American icons, George W. Bush and Dick Cheney, who did not do anything objectionable.
The president deserves our support. We are here to support him. And I am here to support him.
He supported the war on terrorism, which we won. Yeah, everybody says that we won the war on terror, and it's definitely done. Ish. Done-ish. Huh? Give or take a few 100,000 troops here or there. Ish. It was a quick in and out, mostly in, a bit less of the out part, and it only cost over 400,000 lives. It's the kind of squeaky clean war that no reasonable person would ever have second thoughts about. In addition to liking things like long walks on private beaches and adorable taxidermied puppies, Bloomberg's also fond of tax havens.
Last I checked, people in the Cayman Islands are very nice people. They have a lot of people from the Cayman Islands that live here. If you have any problems with people from the Cayman Islands, I think you might want to address it to them. But you see as a good example, every diverse investment pool invests around the world. We live in a global world. The companies that we invest in do business around the world globally.
Ah, doesn't that sound nice? A tax haven. A haven for money to run around freely, not getting kidnapped by the evil US government and spent on public roads and education, which, for my beautiful hero Mike Bloomberg, would be to cut the current number of teachers in half and double the size of the classroom. An effective way of teaching. He also likes to encourage the arts, such as letting every American become the widely read author of My Personal Emails.
If you don't want it to be in the public domain, don't take that picture, don't write it down. In this day and age, you gotta be pretty naive to believe that the NSA isn't listening to everything and reading every email. And incidentally, given how dangerous the world is, we should hope they are, because this is really serious what's going on in the world.
It's not that Bloomberg thinks you're all potential terrorists. It's just that Bloomberg knows you're email poets, and your literary email works shouldn't languish in the darkness of privacy, but should be brought into the light to be read and enjoyed by all the fine people of the NSA. Bloomberg stands up for the underdogs, like the fossil fuel industry and fracking industry, corrections officers who are attacked for using too much force, like the Force from Star Wars. Bloomberg also stands up for tech monopolies and those noble Fire Festival promoters. If you don't remember, the Fire Festival was a cool music festival where nothing objectionable happened. Look, my point is, Bloomberg is a cool guy with cool friends. And if you think that I'm only saying this because I'm paid for this by Bloomberg's Meme 2020 funding, well...
Will some Democrats feel hesitant to go after Bloomberg because he is such an important donor?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, all right, okay. Utterly absurd. The idea that people are being paid to... Hello! Exotic pet daycare, thank you. It's my zebra walker, hold on. You're feeding Stripey what? He eats organic oats. Organic! You absolute imbecile! Anywho, the person in that MSNBC clip is Neera Tanden, who expertly dismisses the claim that Bloomberg somehow uses his wealth to silence his critics. And Neera Tanden should know a thing or two about politics, as she's the president of the Center for American Progress, an unbiased public policy research organization that, by 2015, he had given grants to the Center for American Progress, CAP, worth over $1.5 million. In 2015, Cap was working on a report about anti-Muslim bias in America. Included in the report was former Mayor Bloomberg's New York City police program monitoring Muslim Americans. Interestingly, when the report came out, this chapter had been removed. Bloomberg then gave $400,000 more to Cap in 2017. What the? Who did that? Who's in charge of clips? Was it you, Mark? Paid goons? Get those paid goons to escort him out! Like I was saying, Bloomberg has a proven track record of standing up for the little guy. Like land developers who own luxury buildings, who, America bless them, wanted to be able to benefit from tax breaks given to developers who include low-income housing in their buildings, but don't want the poors using the normal people entrances, so they created poor doors, so the lower income residents wouldn't embarrass everyone by using the main entrance, a policy Bloomberg allowed as mayor of New York City. I mean, of course we want a president who allows poor doors to exist. It's good, right? And it's good. It's good that in an MIT speech, he called the NYPD his own personal army. It's cool. Can someone bring me Stripey? Give me Stripey. It helps me to calm down to like run my fingers through his mane, and it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Okay, he's not. So at least he's not as bad as Trump. You know, I mean, he's a racist billionaire Republican who has a bunch of sexual harassment cases against him. But surely that's where the similarities end, right? It's not like he was in Jeff Epstein's little black book, I say, looking over here instead of the other direction. It's not like he's used like vague genocidal language to imply we should threaten Native American protests with old-timey cowboy violence.
I said to David Patterson, I said, you know, get yourself a cowboy hat and a shotgun. If there's ever a great video, it's you standing in the middle of the New York State thruway saying, you know, read my lips. The law of the land is this, and we're going to enforce the law.
He's not some weird narcissist who would do a... have to resist money, but money good. No! Bloomberg, good.
I'll tell you where I'm going.
Oh, beautiful, Michael.
First, Iowa, then New Hampshire. Maybe I can get the whole country to behave.
Maybe I can get the whole country to behave.
No! I can't do this anymore. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Stripey. I'm sorry, luxury yacht that I named the Cody Bodie. I can't. Bloomberg is just too evil. I have to warn people. I have to warn everyone about... So what's happening here is Michael Bloomberg, a monster with more than $60 billion, has decided that he is the one to do it. He's the only one to defeat Donald Trump, despite merely being a richer version of everything people hate about Donald Trump. His ads are full of blatant lies, also all the stuff I've said so far. You know how Trump always jokes about going for a third term? Bloomberg did that. He used his power and money to influence people behind the scenes to change the law so that he could be mayor for a third term. When a reporter brought it up, Bloomberg told that reporter this.
The rationale for extending term limits is the city council voted it, and the public's going to have a chance on November 3rd to say what they want. And I don't think we have to keep coming back to that. When you have a serious question about the economy, I'd be happy to answer it. Anything else? Thank you very much.
Topics? Anything else?
Nothing else? Doesn't seem.
Thank you.
So maybe not this guy. He just swoops in at the last minute as soon as Bernie Sanders starts to do well and claims that not only is he the only one who can beat Trump, he who has received 0 votes compared to other people's more than 0 votes. Not only that, he claims that Trump actually wants to go up against Bernie Sanders. A lie that can be disproven by the multiple reports of Trump privately saying the opposite of that, including audio of Trump being secretly recorded saying that the only thing he was worried about in 2016 was if Sanders was the VP nominee. Bloomberg doesn't want to be president. He said as recently as last year that he doesn't want to be the president, in addition to saying that if he were to run as a Democrat, he'd have to change all of his views. He's also said, literally, that Bernie would have won. He doesn't believe that he's the guy to beat Trump, or that Bernie would lose. He just doesn't want Bernie to win, for some reason. See, there's a reason that the things Bloomberg says sound so familiar to the facile bullshit arguments you'll hear from never-Trumpers and paid shills. It's why they taunt Trump by saying, Bloomberg's way richer than you. The thing they don't like about Trump is that he's rude. That's it. Can you name a single Bloomberg platform? Like what does he want to do as president? The one thing people say is that, well, at least he believes in climate change, which, low bar. Also, he's terrible on it. Which brings us to the real point of his platform, the real reason he's saying he's running. The only thing that matters is beating Trump. Now, I don't want to downplay the importance of beating Donald Trump, but if it's the only thing, buddy, I've got some bad news for you about what energizes people to vote. Here's Republican strategist and never-Trumper, Rick Wilson. Brief memo to the Democrats on stage. This election will be a referendum on Trump. That is all it will be. Stop wasting time on policy. Show us what you've got against the main enemy. For one, it is the easiest thing in the world to attack Donald Trump. Make him look stupid and bad. Stop thinking that billboards pointing out that Trump eats steak weird is some brilliant strategy. The guy sucks. We know it. People need more. This is insidious, grotesque, and stupid. It's an excuse to not offer voters anything. Bloomberg isn't offering anything. He's Trump, but with a D by his name and slightly less of an oath. And he's literally trying to silence democracy and buy it for himself. His worldview about what people are capable of and what they deserve and his role in getting people to behave, it's really f***ed up and disturbing. We should reject it and take his money. But not in the way I did earlier. In the way where you can finally go to the doctor. Text f*** off to Mike. He won't beat us. His money will not buy our soul. Sure, he can take my phones. He can take my yacht. He can take my zebra. But you know what he can't take? This. Roll the credits. We can't afford the theme song anymore, so just roll the credits. Text thank you to you for watching the video all the way through. Be sure to like and subscribe and leave a nice or mean comment. Who cares? Check out our Patreon, and we've got a podcast called Even More News. And I don't know, Twitter, merch, Google us. Text Mike